Welcome to the Chapter Hearth. We wish you moments of joy and relaxation listening to our stories. It was my stepsister Serafina Hayes' wedding day, and yet I was the one in the wedding dress. Sounds absurd, right? But this story is even more ridiculous than your favorite celebrity suddenly announcing retirement to become a pig farmer. I, Victoria Reed, the biological daughter of the Hayes family, was now forced to replace my stepmother's scheming daughter and marry into the Thorne family, a dynasty so powerful, a mere sneeze could shake all of New York City. The reason was simple. Serafina Hayes disdained the groom, Arthur Thorne, calling him a cripple with a strange temperament who spent his days in a wheelchair with a perpetually gloomy face. She cried hysterically to her mother, my stepmother, Eleanor Hayes, saying she'd rather die than marry him. Eleanor, who adored her biological daughter, immediately turned her anger on me.
Vicky, look how delicate Serafina is. How could she endure the hardship of marrying into the Thorne family? Why don't you take her place?
My father, Mr. Hayes, a weak man who had spent his entire life obeying his second wife, chimed in.
That's right. After all, the Thorne family didn't specify which daughter. If you marry him, our Hayes family will benefit from the association.
Benefit from the association? What a laugh! They saw me as nothing more than a trash can sent to clean up the mess for their precious daughter. From childhood, everything good went to Serafina Hayes. I was a faint shadow in my own home, and now they wanted to steal my entire life's happiness too. I looked at their hypocritical faces, my heart as cold as ice. All right, fine. I smirked. But I have conditions.
Tell me, darling, as long as you agree to marry him, I'll agree to anything. Your mother's old house in the suburbs will be returned to you, plus $50 million in cash as your dowry.
Their faces stiffened. That house was the only inheritance my biological mother left me, but they had occupied it for years. As for $50 million, for the declining Hayes family, it was like cutting off a piece of their own flesh.
You're insane, aren't you?
My father stammered. I chuckled. Then I won't marry him. I don't mind seeing the Hayes family on tomorrow's front page with the headline, Hayes family breaks engagement with Thorne family. Hayes Corporation faces bankruptcy. This is my final counterattack. As expected, they were scared. If the Thorne family got angry, the Hayes family would be doomed. Finally, they gritted their teeth and agreed. And so, here I was, in a lavish honeymoon suite that was blindingly opulent. The wedding dress on my body felt heavy, not from the diamonds adorning it, but from the irony of fate. Throughout the ceremony, the groom, Arthur Thorne, never appeared. People said he was ill and unable to be out, so I went through the ceremony with just a portrait of him. In the picture, he had deep, cold eyes, a straight, high nose, and thin, indifferent lips. He was undeniably handsome, but his aura was truly intimidating. Sitting alone in the honeymoon suite, I took off all the heavy jewelry, sighing in relief. Marrying anyone was fine. A cripple was even better. At least I would have a quiet life, free from daily confrontations with my stepmother and stepsister. The door suddenly pushed open, and I jumped, turning around. The person who entered in a wheelchair was Arthur Thorne himself. He wore a perfectly tailored suit. Even sitting, he exuded an overwhelming presence. His real-life face was even more defined than in the photo, impossibly handsome. The only thing was, his eyes gazed at me with Antarctic coldness.
Serafina Hayes.
I stood up, neither arrogant nor self-deprecating. No, I'm Victoria Reed, her older sister. A soft chuckle echoed in the air, carrying undisguised mockery. His eyes swept over me from head to toe.
You Reeds certainly have guts.
I knew what he was thinking. A substitute bride. This was a great insult to the Thorne family. I had already prepared myself to be thrown out of the house on my wedding night. This matter was decided by the Hayes family. It has nothing to do with me. If you want to call off the engagement, I have no objections. He didn't answer immediately, just silently maneuvered his wheelchair closer. An invisible pressure emanated from him, making it almost impossible for me to breathe. The wheelchair stopped right in front of me. He looked up, his dark eyes locking onto mine. The distance was so close I could feel his cool breath on my face. My heart began to pound erratically. His good looks were truly mesmerizing, but his aura was terrifying.
Call off the engagement?
He smirked, his smile enigmatic.
Victoria Reed, do you think marrying into the Thorne family is a game? Come and go as you please?
Just as I was racking my brain, trying to figure out what he intended to do, a powerful woman's voice echoed from outside the door.
Arthur, don't scare my daughter-in-law.
The door opened again, and a middle-aged woman walked in. She wore an elegant silk cheongsam, her hair neatly styled in a high bun, exuding an air of nobility and grace. This had to be my legendary mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne. I was so tense I held my breath, bracing myself for a hurricane of scolding. My daughter-in-law? She wasn't going to tear me apart? But no, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne completely ignored her son, who was radiating a deadly aura, and walked straight to me. She gently took my hand, her beautiful phoenix-like eyes looking at me with warmth and heartache.
You've been through so much, Vicky.
What? I was stunned. What kind of script is this? Shouldn't it be a dramatic confrontation? Why has it turned into a family drama? Arthur Thorne, sitting in his wheelchair, also frowned slightly, clearly surprised by his mother's attitude. Mrs. Evelyn Thorne lightly patted the back of my hand, her voice gentle, but her words as sharp as a knife.
That Hayes family truly has no shame. A precious gem like you they didn't appreciate, yet they valued that fish with bulging eyes. Don't worry, from now on, with me here, no one will dare bully you.
Fish with bulging eyes? She was talking about Serafina Hayes. I was completely petrified. This mother-in-law seemed even more formidable than I had imagined. My brain was officially overloaded. This script wasn't in my instruction manual. A high society mother-in-law, upon discovering her daughter-in-law was a substitute, not only didn't get angry, but embraced the new daughter-in-law and disparaged the original one as a fish with bulging eyes. Arthur Thorne clearly couldn't process it either. A flicker of astonishment crossed his chiseled face before quickly returning to its usual coldness. He looked at his mother, his voice deepening with clear displeasure.
Mother, do you know what you're saying?
Mrs. Evelyn Thorne didn't even spare him a glance. All her attention was on me. She pulled a vibrant green jade bracelet from her wrist. The jade was so clear and pure, it was obviously a priceless limited edition. Without a word, she clasped it onto my wrist.
This is a welcome gift. From now on, Vicky is the Thorne family's daughter-in-law, the mistress of this house. Anyone who dares to disrespect you disrespects me.
This statement was clearly aimed at Arthur Thorne. I flinched, quickly trying to pull my hand back. Mother, this is too precious. I can't accept it.
What's there not to dare? She interrupted me, her warm hand holding mine tightly. Compared to you, it's nothing at all. Let me tell you a secret. I actually knew the Hayes family would swap brides beforehand.
Another bombshell dropped. Both Arthur Thorne and I were stunned. She smiled elegantly, but a sharp, fox-like glint flashed in her eyes.
Serafina Hayes, that manipulative, fake little actress. How could she be worthy of entering the Thorne family's door? I was worried I wouldn't have an excuse to switch, but they conveniently gave me one. You are the one I had my eye on, Vicky.
So that was it. This wasn't an accident, but a staged play. And I had inadvertently become the winner in this high society daughter-in-law selection. This mother-in-law truly had a brilliant mind. She patted my hand, then turned to her son, who was still silently radiating coldness.
You too, Arthur. Marrying Vicky is your blessing. Treat her well. I'm going downstairs. You two talk.
With that, she leisurely departed, leaving behind an awkward atmosphere in the room so thick you could cut it with a knife. As soon as she was gone, Arthur Thorne retracted all emotion. His eyes returned to me, sharp and probing.
Tell me, what did you do to my mother?
I shrugged. You saw it. I didn't even have a chance to do anything yet.
Don't pretend.
He maneuvered his wheelchair closer, forcing me to retreat until my back hit the edge of the bed.
Don't think that just because my mother is backing you, you can do whatever you want in this house. This posture is too much.
The minty scent of his body wafted straight into my nose. My heart started acting up again. Even in a wheelchair, his domineering CEO aura was undeniable. I tried to stay calm, lifting my head to meet his gaze. Arthur Thorne, I'll say it again. I never wanted to marry into this family. I also have no interest in causing trouble. You and I, it's best we maintain our distance. We can be a couple in name only, and after some time, divorce amicably. What do you think? He stared into my eyes, as if trying to see through my soul. His thin lips curved into a dangerous smile.
Divorce, Victoria Reed? You've managed to get into the Thorne family's door, and now you want out? Do you think I'm a fool?
Then what do you want? I began to lose patience.
What do I want?
What do I want?
He sneered, then suddenly reached out, grabbed my wrist, and pulled forcefully. I lost my balance, falling forward towards him. Reflexively, I braced my hands on the armrests of his wheelchair, and as a result, my lips brushed against his cheek. Time seemed to stop. I could feel the heat radiating from his skin. My entire body stiffened. Damn it, what kind of melodramatic cliché was this? An accidental kiss on the wedding night? My face flushed, and I quickly tried to pull back, but he held my hand tightly, refusing to let go. I looked up, meeting his deep gaze. In those dark eyes, the coldness was gone, replaced by a smoldering fire, and his ears seemed a little red. Was I mistaken? This wild one actually blushes?
No need for your feigned kindness.
He released my hand, his voice still hoarse, but with a hint of unnaturalness. He turned his wheelchair towards the bathroom.
This marriage was decided by the Thorne family, not your game. Just settle down.
With that, he wheeled himself into the bathroom. I stood there, stunned, my hand still feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. My heart continued to pound as if it wanted to leap out of my chest. That night, we truly maintained our distance. He slept on the auxiliary bed by the window, while I took the large bed. But I couldn't sleep all night. In my mind, the image of his flushed ear kept replaying. Near dawn, as I was drifting off, I heard a sound. I opened my eyes slightly and saw Arthur Thorne struggling to transfer from his wheelchair to the bed. Perhaps due to his unhealed injuries, his movements were a bit difficult. I hesitated for a moment. Should I ignore him or lend a hand? I mean, we were husband and wife in name only. I quietly got out of bed and walked towards him. "Let me help." He looked up, his eyes complex.
No need.
"Don't be stubborn." I ignored his refusal, placing one hand on his shoulder and wrapping the other around his waist. "You're heavy." The moment our skin touched, both of us froze. Through my thin nightgown, I could clearly feel his firm muscles and the warmth of his body. His breath wafted onto my neck, both hot and ticklish.
You
His voice was thick.
don't talk anymore. Just use your strength.
I gritted my teeth, using all my might to help him stand up. Finally, I succeeded in getting him onto the bed. I breathed a sigh of relief, intending to retreat, when he suddenly grabbed my wrist.
Victoria Reed?
He looked at me, emotions I couldn't decipher in his eyes.
Why?
Why?
His question left me bewildered. Yes, why indeed? Arthur Thorne's question hung in the air, carrying both scrutiny and a hint of confusion. His hand still held my wrist tightly, the warmth radiating from it making my face flush again. I took a deep breath, reining in my scattered thoughts. I looked straight into his eyes, those deep, abyssal eyes, then smirked. "You should ask my father, my stepmother, and my sweet, innocent-looking stepsister that question. Ask them why they pushed me here." With that, I forcefully pulled my hand from his grip. This time, he didn't hold me back. "Good night, husband in name only." I threw out a provocative remark, then turned and walked straight to my large bed without looking back. I could feel his sharp gaze fixed on my back, but I ignored it. Tonight, I was too tired of these continuous surprises. The next morning, I was woken by the fragrant aroma of food. I lazily opened my eyes to see sunlight flooding the room. Looking at the auxiliary bed, Arthur Thorne had disappeared sometime earlier. After personal hygiene, I went downstairs. The scene in the dining room made me freeze for a few seconds. On the long dining table, which seemed to stretch the length of a football field, food was laid out everywhere. From Cantonese dim sum and bird's nest soup to steak and Western-style salads, nothing was missing. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, sat elegantly at the head of the table, sipping tea. Seeing me descend, she immediately waved, her smile radiant.
"Vicky, come here quickly. I didn't know what you like to eat, so I told the chef to make a little bit of everything. Try it and see if it suits your taste."
I glanced at Arthur Thorne, who sat opposite her. In front of him was only a simple bowl of plain congee and a glass of water. His handsome face remained as cold as ever, but for some reason, I felt an invisible aura of resentment emanating from him. Was this the legendary blatant favoritism? "You don't need to go to such trouble, Mother. I'll eat anything." I sat down next to her.
"Why trouble? She picked up a shrimp dumpling for me. My daughter-in-law must be taken care of best. You're so thin. When'll I have a grandchild to hold?"
My hand, holding the chopsticks, paused. Here it was, the classic mother-in-law question. Although Mrs. Evelyn Thorne spoke in a very gentle tone, the invisible pressure was still palpable. I secretly glanced at Arthur Thorne and saw him also look up, his deep eyes full of unspoken meaning, the corner of his lips seeming to curl slightly. Was he enjoying the show? Just then, the housekeeper, Martha, came in to announce.
"Madam, young master, Mrs. Hayes and Miss Hayes have arrived.
My stepmother and stepsister? They were fast. They must have come to gloat, expecting to see me living a miserable life. Mrs. Evelyn Thorne frowned slightly, but then smiled.
Let them in.
A few minutes later, my stepmother Eleanor Hayes and Seraphina Hayes walked in hand. The moment they saw me sitting in the luxurious dining room, dressed in a high-end silk dress, their expressions changed. Especially Seraphina Hayes. When she saw the jade bracelet on my wrist, her eyes seemed to spit fire.
Sister.
Seraphina Hayes put on her usual pitiful act, her eyes welling up.
Are you doing well here? Mother and I were so worried about you. We couldn't sleep all night.
The acting had begun again. Before I could even open my mouth, my mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, set her teacup down with a sharp click. The sound wasn't loud, but it was enough to startle everyone.
Miss Hayes, your worry is quite excessive. She smiled enigmatically. What could be wrong with my daughter-in-law in her own home?
Eleanor Hayes quickly pulled her daughter back, smiling apologetically. Mrs. Thorne, you are right. We were just worried sick. We just wanted to see if Vicky was settling in well. After all, she never lived in luxury since childhood.
This statement was clearly meant to belittle me, implying I wasn't worthy of a high society life. Mrs. Evelyn Thorne shot her a sharp, cold glance.
Mrs. Hayes, I don't know how Vicky lived before, but since she stepped into the Thorne family's door, she is a phoenix, and a phoenix cannot live with scrub hens. Wouldn't you agree?
Eleanor Hayes's face turned from green to white. Being called a scrub hen right to her face, she was fuming but dared not do anything. I calmly picked up a piece of pastry, secretly giving my mother-in-law a mental thumbs up. Truly the mindset of a winner, my battle-axe mother-in-law. Seraphina Hayes, seeing her mother losing face, immediately shifted her target to Arthur Thorne. She walked to his wheelchair, her voice coquettish.
Mr. Arthur, are your legs feeling any better? Mr. Arthur is so sorry. It's all my fault. If only...
She deliberately tried to act intimately, wanting to provoke me. But she was mistaken. Arthur Thorne didn't even look at her, his cold gaze fixed on his bowl of congee. He interrupted her indifferently.
Miss Hayes, we are not close. Don't address me like that.
A single sentence directly froze all of Seraphina Hayes's efforts. The awkwardness was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Seeing that the drama was about to fall apart, I decided to deliver the finishing blow. I looked up at them with clear, innocent eyes. Stepmother, little sister, you've arrived at just the right time. I've almost spent all $50 million you gave me. I wonder when the next bride selling session will be.
You!
Eleanor Hayes was so angry, she pointed at my face, trembling, speechless. Seraphina Hayes's face turned pale. Being exposed for selling her sister for money right in front of the Thorne family, she just wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, however, burst out laughing. She stood up and linked arms with me.
All right, Vicky, the guests have visited. Let's go shopping. The black card I gave you yesterday, you can swipe to your heart's content today. Consider it compensation for all the hardships you've endured.
With that, she pulled me straight out the door, completely ignoring my stepmother and stepsister. Before leaving, I even turned back and winked at Arthur Thorne. For the first time, I saw a flicker of amusement in his usually icy eyes. Sitting in the smooth Rolls-Royce, I was still slightly exhilarated after the recent confrontation. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, sat beside me, elegantly holding my hand, her eyes full of meaning.
Vicky, Do you know why I'm so eager to have grandchildren?
I started, shaking my head. I don't know, Mother. She sighed softly, a complex flicker in her eyes.
This Thorn family looks glamorous on the outside, but inside, it's full of hidden currents. Arthur's father, Mr. Richard Thorn, is not simple. As long as you have a direct heir, your position as the mistress of the Thorn family will be unshakable.
So that was it. She wasn't simply eager for grandchildren. She was planning for my long-term future, helping me consolidate my status. This mother-in-law truly had a brilliant mind. She patted my hand, her tone shifting to cheerfulness.
All right, no more headache-inducing talk. Today, just let loose. This black card has no password. Take whatever you like. Swipe until the machine says it's out of funds.
I looked at the black card she handed me, my mouth twitching. Was this the legendary black card with no limit? Saying out of funds was practically a joke. The car stopped in front of New York City's most luxurious shopping mall. My mother-in-law linked arms with me, exuding an air of distinction as we entered. As soon as the sales associates in the designer stores saw her, they bowed respectfully.
This set, and that one too. Get them in my daughter-in-law's size. These shoes suit her. Wrap up this limited edition handbag. The Thorn family will take it.
I followed her, my head buzzing. This wasn't shopping. This was a full-blown raid, clearing out everything in its path. I felt like a living doll, with her changing my outfit from head to toe. In just an hour, the bodyguards trailing behind us were laden with bags, barely able to breathe. As we were resting at a cafe, a shrill voice rang out.
Oh, isn't this Mrs. Thorne? Long time no see. You still look so young and beautiful, Mrs. Thorne.
A woman dressed flamboyantly, adorned with glittering jewelry like a Christmas tree, walked over with a young girl. I recognized her as Mrs. Kimberly Stone, a socialite known for constantly needling my mother-in-law within high society circles.
Mrs. Kimberly Stone has excellent fortune, so of course she stays young longer.
Mrs. Evelyn Thorne took a sip of coffee, not even bothering to look up, subtly implying she was overweight. Mrs. Kimberly Stone's face stiffened, then her gaze shifted to me, sweeping over me from head to toe with a scrutinizing look.
Who is Mrs. Thorne shopping with today? She looks unfamiliar.
Mrs. Thorne shopping with today. She looks unfamiliar.
My daughter-in-law, Victoria Reeve.
Mrs. Evelyn Thorne introduced me casually.
Your daughter-in-law? I remember Mr. Arthur was engaged to Miss Hayes from the Hayes family. She's a renowned beauty and talented young lady. So why...
She deliberately left the sentence hanging, her meaning crystal clear. She was implying I wasn't worthy. Before I could react, my mother-in-law let out a faint chuckle.
Mrs. Kimberly Stone, you're a little behind the times. My daughter-in-law is, of course, the best, beautiful and well-behaved, but most importantly, she's sensible, unlike certain manipulative, fake girls who are only good at putting on a show. That kind, our Thorne family doesn't have the fortune to consume.
This statement not only countered Mrs. Kimberly Stone, but also subtly jabbed at Serafina Hayes once again. Mrs. Kimberly Stone's face turned red with anger, but she could do nothing. She resorted to showing off her own daughter.
My daughter just returned from Paris. She's working as a designer for ISL. Young people today are truly talented.
Mrs. Evelyn Thorne nodded. Indeed, very talented. My Vicky isn't particularly gifted. She just graduated top of her class with dual degrees in finance and law from Harvard.
This time, Mrs. Kimberly Stone was truly speechless. She hadn't expected me to have such an impressive resume. Her eyes, which had been dismissive, now shifted to wary respect. Finally, she and her daughter had to find an excuse to leave. After seeing off the troublesome guests, my mother-in-law pulled me along. But this time, the destination made my face burn scarlet. It was a high-end lingerie store. She pulled me inside, completely ignoring my embarrassed expression. She browsed for a while, then picked up a super scanty black lace silk nightgown.
Vicky, what do you think of this one?
My face was burning. Mother, this is too revealing.
She shot me a glance. A little revealing is precisely what works. Listen to me, my naughty son's legs might be paralyzed, but everything else is perfectly normal. He's the type that's fiery on the inside, cold on the outside, so you need to be a little proactive.
She leaned closer and whispered in my ear.
Wear this tonight, and I guarantee he won't give you the cold shoulder tomorrow. We need to hurry if I'm going to have grandchildren to hold.
I was officially petrified. Mother-in-law, you're corrupting your daughter-in-law. In the end, under my mother-in-law's pressure, I had no choice but to glumly carry the bag containing that secret weapon home. When we arrived back at the mansion, Arthur Thorne was sitting in the living room, reading. He looked up when he heard footsteps. His eyes scanned the dozens of large and small bags in the bodyguard's hands, then stopped at the lingerie bag in my hand. He raised an eyebrow slightly, but said nothing. I clutched the bag as if it were a bomb, my heart pounding. I quickly greeted my mother-in-law and scurried upstairs. As soon as I entered the room, I tossed the bag onto the bed as if it were a hot potato. I turned to go take a shower when I suddenly jumped. Arthur Thorne was already in the room, his wheelchair parked by the door. He looked at me, then at the bag on the bed, a faint, enigmatic smile playing on his lips.
Have fun shopping, Mrs. Thorne.
This tone was clearly teasing me. I also had fun, I stammered. He slowly maneuvered his wheelchair closer to the bed, reached out, and picked up the black lace nightgown my mother-in-law had chosen. He held it up, examining it with deep meaning.
Mother's taste is indeed not bad. He looked at me, his eyes darkening. Do you plan to wear this tonight?
My face flushed so red it could cook an egg. I don't.
Oh.
He chuckled.
That's a shame then.
With that, he tossed the nightgown back onto the bed. But I had already caught a glimpse of his ears turning red. Arthur Thorne's flushed ears were clearly visible to me. In a second, my mind raced faster than a quantum computer. He likes to pretend to be cold, huh? Likes to act dangerous, huh? Fine, let's see how cold he can really be. The corner of my lips subtly curved upwards. I said nothing. I calmly picked up the secret weapon my mother-in-law had given me and turned directly into the bathroom. Before closing the door, I intentionally glanced back at him. I clearly saw his eyes fixed on my retreating back, his Adam's apple bobbing with difficulty. Inside the bathroom, my heart pounded like a war drum. Victoria Reed, you're crazy. You're playing with fire. But thinking of his fiery inside, cold outside demeanor, my competitive spirit surged. 30 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. I slowly stepped out. The flimsy black lace nightgown clung to every curve of my body, both revealing and concealing, a sight potent enough to incinerate all reason. Arthur Thorne was sitting in his wheelchair with his back to me, seemingly looking out the window, but his straight, tense back betrayed him. I deliberately walked in a circle, standing in front of him, my voice carrying a hint of a smile. "Mr. Arthur, are you admiring the moon and stars?" His body clearly stiffened. He slowly turned his head, his dark eyes sweeping over me. This time, the fire in his eyes was no longer smoldering, but blazing fiercely, as if wanting to burn me to ashes.
What in the world are you doing?
What in the world are you doing?
His voice was hoarse, as if trying to suppress something. I spun around, letting the thin lace glide softly in the air. "Nothing, just trying on new clothes Mother bought. Isn't it pretty, dear?" I deliberately elongated the dear, making it both soft and teasing. I saw his hand on the armrest of the wheelchair clench tightly, his knuckles turning white. He didn't answer, just snapped.
Go change. That's scandalous.
Scandalous?
I chuckled, stepping closer, bending down and resting my hands on the armrests of his wheelchair, trapping him between them. Our distance was so close that my breath wafted directly onto his face. "Where is it scandalous? I thought you'd like it, actually. Or are you afraid to admit that your Mrs. Thorne is a little attractive?"
Victoria Reed.
He let out a low growl, then suddenly propelled his wheelchair forward. I flinched back, my back hitting the cold wall behind me. He had cornered me. The wheelchair blocked all escape routes. He reached out, grabbing my wrist tightly and pulling me down close to him. His face was just a few centimeters from mine, his hot breath fanning my lips. His eyes were bloodshot and dangerous.
You are testing my patience.
His voice was deep and hoarse, full of warning.
Don't think I can't do anything to you.
Don't think I can't do anything to you.
My heart pounded wildly. His masculine mint scent enveloped me, making my mind go blank. The situation had completely reversed. My teasing had angered the sleeping beast. Just as the tense atmosphere reached its peak, a rapid knocking suddenly sounded at the door.
"Young master, madam, Mr. Richard Thorne is back. He's furious downstairs. You two need to come down quickly."
The housekeeper, Martha's voice was filled with panic and worry. Mr. Richard Thorne, Arthur Thorne's father. The heated atmosphere in the room immediately cooled. Half the intense aura around Arthur Thorne dissipated, replaced by deep coldness and disgust. He released my hand, his tone icy.
Change your clothes and go downstairs.
He wheeled his chair to the door, not looking back. I leaned against the wall, my legs weak, my heart still racing. Looking at his solitary yet resolute back, a complex emotion suddenly rose within me. 10 minutes later, I had changed into a modest nightgown and went downstairs with him. In the living room, a middle-aged man with a dignified face, resembling Arthur Thorne by at least 70%, sat on the sofa. He was Mr. Richard Thorne, chairman of Thorne Enterprises, and Arthur Thorne's father. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, sat beside him, her expression a little grim. The moment he saw us, Mr. Richard Thorne slammed his hand on the table.
"Arthur Thorne, do you still know your way home? I heard you got married. Why wasn't I informed of such a major event?"
My affairs are none of your concern.
Mr. Richard Thorne angrily stood up, pointing directly at him.
"Look at yourself. A cripple who can't even walk. What right do you have to make your own decisions? Do you even know who the woman you married is? She's the daughter the Hayes family threw away."
He turned to me, his eyes full of contempt. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, immediately stood up, shielding me.
Richard Thorne, choose your words carefully. Vicky is the daughter-in-law I chose, the future mistress of the Thorne family.
You shut up!
Mr. Richard Thorne roared.
This house is still mine to command. If I say this woman is unworthy, then she is unworthy. Tomorrow, you two will immediately go and file for divorce.
The atmosphere was tense, like a string about to snap. I stood there, the center of the storm. Just then, Arthur Thorne, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear and firm, stunning everyone.
We can't divorce.
We can't.
He looked straight at his father. Then his gaze shifted to me. He spoke each word clearly.
She's already carrying my child.
Arthur Thorne's words were like a nuclear bomb detonating in the middle of the living room. For a moment, the entire mansion fell into absolute silence. So quiet, I could hear my own heart pounding in my chest. I'm having his child? We hadn't even shared a bed yet. Where would a child come from? This wild one truly lies effortlessly. The first to recover was my mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne. Her tense face relaxed, then bloomed into a radiant smile like spring flowers. She quickly walked to my side, her eyes sparkling as if she had just found gold.
Really? Vicky, are you really pregnant? Why didn't you tell me sooner?
I was speechless, my brain unable to keep up. Should I nod or shake my head? Mr. Richard Thorne was the second to react. His anger turned into extreme disbelief.
Pregnant? You're lying. You two just got married yesterday. How could she be pregnant?
He glared at me, his eyes sharp as knives, wanting to pierce my stomach and check. Arthur Thorne maintained his icy demeanor. He looked up, meeting his father's gaze, his voice perfectly calm.
Do you think I'm like you, Father? This matter is not your concern. I'm simply announcing the result.
A single sentence both denied the accusation and subtly insulted his father. Brilliant. Mr. Richard Thorne's face paled, clearly hit where it hurt, but he still refused to give up.
I don't believe it. Call the family doctor immediately to check. We'll know for sure.
My heart leaped into my throat. This was it. Game over, for real this time. Just then, my teammate stepped in. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, immediately bristled, shielding me like a mother hen protecting her chick.
Richard Thorne, have you lost your mind?
She raised her voice, overriding his.
Vicky is pregnant with the Thorne family's direct heir. Her body is still weak. And you want to call a doctor to cause a commotion and risk her having a miscarriage? If this gets out, where will the Thorne family's reputation be? Or do you want outsiders to spread rumors that Chairman Thorne is forcing his pregnant daughter-in-law to divorce?
Every word she spoke was a fatal blow, directly hitting Mr. Richard Thorne's biggest weakness, his reputation. As expected, he was speechless, unable to retort. Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, seeing this, delivered the finishing blow. She turned to Martha, her voice full of authority.
Martha, quickly escort the young madam upstairs to rest. From now on, everyone in this house must be careful. Anyone who dares to disturb the young madam will be immediately dismissed.
Yes, madam.
And so, under my mother-in-law's protection, I successfully escaped a life-or-death situation, escorted upstairs like a queen. Before entering the room, I secretly glanced downstairs. Mr. Richard Thorne's face was as dark as a storm cloud. Chastised by his wife and unable to say a word, he had to leave in a huff. This confrontation, we were completely victorious. As soon as I entered the room, I immediately slammed the door shut, turning to face Arthur Thorne, who had just been wheeled in by a bodyguard.
Arthur Thorne, explain yourself. Where did this pregnancy come from? I lowered my voice, asking through gritted teeth. He gestured for the bodyguard to withdraw, leaving only the two of us in the room. He maneuvered his wheelchair to the window, his gaze fixed on the garden outside, not looking at me.
Circumstances demanded it,
he replied calmly, as if the recent event was merely a flick of a finger. Demanded it? I was so angry, I laughed. You lie as easily as breathing, but I'm the one who has to carry this fake baby bump. What if your father demands another check next time? Or do you plan for me to stuff a pillow in my stomach? He was silent for a moment, then slowly turned to look at me. His deep eyes locked onto mine.
There won't be a next time.
What do you mean? He didn't answer directly. The corner of his lips subtly curled, his smile both wicked and alluring.
To keep a lie from being discovered, the best way is to cover it with a bigger truth. You understand what I mean, Mrs. Thorne?
My mind felt a jolt. A bigger truth. His meaning? My faith was burning, but I tried to appear calm.
You're challenging me. It seems Mr. Arthur already has a plan.
I crossed my arms and raised an eyebrow, looking at him.
He chuckled, his voice deep and mesmerizing. A plan? Yes, I have one. The question is whether Mrs. Thorne here is willing to cooperate. After all, Mother is very eager for grandchildren again. Or are you afraid?
He raised an eyebrow, his eyes full of challenge.
If so, then tomorrow I will tell my father it was all a misunderstanding. We can divorce immediately.
He was using that trick again. He knew perfectly well I couldn't divorce. But this time, I wouldn't let him have the upper hand. I took a deep breath, then burst out laughing, my smile carrying 3 parts teasing, 7 parts provocation. I walked closer to him, bending down and resting my hands on the armrests of his wheelchair, trapping him between them, just as I had done last night.
Divorce? I whispered, my breath gently fanning his ear. Arthur Thorne, could you bear to? But you have a point. I felt his body stiffen slightly. A bigger truth. I smiled. Not a bad idea. But to execute this plan, I wonder if Mr. Arthur here has enough capability.
I deliberately emphasized enough capability, my eyes glancing down at his legs, then looking straight back into his eyes. This was a gamble. I was betting that this man's pride wouldn't allow him to admit he was incapable. As expected, his face darkened, the fire in his eyes flared, not with anger, but with an intense, possessive emotion. He suddenly reached out and squeezed my waist, pulling me hard into his lap.
Victoria Reed.
He gritted his teeth, his voice thick in my ear.
You are provoking me.
I'm just confirming the plan. I smiled, but my heart was pounding like crazy. The smile on Arthur Thorne's lips deepened, carrying unpredictable danger. He nodded, his eyes burning.
Very good. Then, Mrs. Thorne, prepare yourself to cooperate.
His ears, under the light, turned suspiciously red again. My entire body was trapped tightly in Arthur Thorne's arms, the ambiguous posture making my face flush. His hot breath fanned my ear, his voice thick with deadly danger.
Victoria Reed, you are provoking me.
I smiled, but inside I was panicking. I'm just confirming the plan. The smile on Arthur Thorne's lips deepened even further.
Very good. Then, Mrs. Thorne, prepare yourself to cooperate.
With that, he gave me no chance to react. One hand held the back of my neck firmly, and he lowered his head. His thin, indifferent lips didn't kiss my mouth, but brushed lightly past my burning ear, then slid down my pale neck. A tingling current shot down my spine. My entire body went limp, my last bit of strength draining away. His breath felt like fire, burning wherever it touched. My mind went blank, leaving only the intense sensation of our skin touching.
How's that?
His deep, hoarse voice purred next to my ear, full of allure.
Do you think this cooperation shows enough capability?
He was humiliating me. He was using his actions to prove that even in a wheelchair, he could completely control me. A wave of shame and anger washed over me. I used all my strength to push him away. But in my struggle, my hand accidentally landed on his thigh, and I froze. Beneath the smooth fabric of his trousers, his muscles were unexpectedly firm. A crazy thought flashed in my mind. What if his legs weren't paralyzed at all? What if he was faking it? This shock was even greater than the recent intimate acts. I looked up sharply, staring into his eyes, trying to find a flaw. But in those deep eyes, apart from possessiveness and a teasing smirk, I saw nothing else. Seeing my dazed expression, Arthur Thorne released me. He wheeled his chair back slightly, creating a safe distance. The heated atmosphere gradually cooled, but the tension remained.
It seems Mrs. Thorne has her answer now.
He calmly adjusted his collar, returning to his usual cold demeanor. I took a deep breath, suppressing the shock in my heart. His legs, I would have to investigate that slowly. The immediate problem was that damned plan. All right, then. I straightened up, crossed my arms over my chest, my gaze fearless. The cooperation plan, I agree, but I have conditions. Arthur raised an eyebrow, showing interest, and said,
Go on.
Quote, First, in front of outsiders, we are a newlywed couple. I will play the role of a virtuous, pregnant wife perfectly. In return, in this house, apart from your parents, you must ensure no one is allowed to make things difficult for me. Arthur nodded.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Second, I looked directly into his eyes. The plan to turn fiction into fact. The time and place must be decided by me. Until I agree, you are not allowed to touch me. This was my main goal. I couldn't allow myself to be in a passive position. The corner of Arthur Thorne's lips curved into an enigmatic smile. He stared at me, as if assessing an interesting item.
Deal.
Deal?
He said. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least I had regained some control.
And another thing.
He suddenly added.
During our cooperation, you must absolutely follow my arrangements. You are not allowed to act on your own, especially concerning anyone from the Hayes family.
Why?
Arthur.
Why? I frowned. He didn't explain, only said coldly, This is my condition. You have no right to refuse.
This is my condition. You have no right to refuse.
Just then, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then answered, putting it on speaker.
Mr. Thorne!
Miss Chen's urgent voice rang out.
Hayes Corporation just held a press conference announcing the launch of their Southside real estate project. Their partner is the Stone Group.
The Stone Group was a fierce rival of Thorne Enterprises. Arthur Thorne's face visibly chilled.
Where did they get the capital?
I heard it was Miss Serafina Hayes. She managed to secure a large investment from overseas. She's also been appointed vice president of this project.
Serafina Hayes, vice president? That's the joke of the year. What does that girl know besides acting? Clearly, someone is pulling her strings.
He hung up the phone.
Arthur Thorne looked at me, his eyes sharp. It seems your sister not only wants to be a schemer, but also wants to be a market disruption.
I laughed coldly. Well, we'll have to see if she has the capability for that.
What do you plan to do?
Nothing. I shrugged. I just suddenly feel like visiting my parents' house to inquire how my father and stepmother's business has been flourishing lately. Arthur Thorne looked at me for a few seconds, then the corner of his lips curled up again. He picked up his phone, typed a few things, then tossed it to me.
Take this. Inside is a gift. Consider it my introduction present to the Hayes family.
I opened his phone. It was a secured document file. After entering the password he dictated, the entire analysis report of the fatal loopholes in the Southside project appeared, along with evidence that the Stone Group was secretly transferring assets overseas, preparing to default on their debts. If this report were released, not only would Hayes Corporation's project collapse, but the Stone Group would also lose everything and be utterly disgraced. This wasn't an introduction gift, it was a ticking time bomb. I looked up at the man sitting in the wheelchair, his expression indifferent. Who was he, really? How powerful was he to have such classified information in his hands?
I really like this gift.
I smiled, my smile carrying a cold edge. Thank you, husband. He merely nodded slightly, his ears tinged red again. It seemed my trip back to my parents' house was going to be quite a show. Shanghai International Private Hospital. This place was famous for two things: cutting-edge medical technology and a patient privacy policy so strict not even a fly knew who was admitted. Trying to access Arthur Thorne's medical records here was as difficult as reaching for the stars. But I, Victoria Reed, had an advantage no one knew about. Dr. Ethan Stone was my best friend from Harvard, a medical genius, and currently the Associate Chief of Surgery at this very hospital. I dialed a familiar number. The other end quickly picked up, and a clear male voice responded.
Vicky, you're back in the country? Why didn't you tell me?
Dr. Stone. I smiled softly. It's too late to tell you now, isn't it? Are you at the hospital? I have something I need your help with. 15 minutes later, Dr. Ethan Stone and I were sitting in his private office. When he heard I wanted to see my husband, Arthur Thorne's, medical records, his expression immediately became serious.
Vicky, don't put me in a difficult position. Mr. Arthur's file is SSS security. Only the hospital director and his primary physician have access. I don't have the authority.
I know it's difficult. I looked straight into his eyes. But this is very important to me. It concerns my entire future life. Dr. Stone, consider it a favor I owe you. Dr. Ethan Stone looked at me for a long time. Seeing the determination in my eyes, he finally sighed.
All right, I'll try. Sit here and wait. Don't go anywhere.
He left, leaving me alone in the office. My heart pounded, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was Arthur Thorne's number. I flinched, quickly answered, trying to keep my voice as calm as possible. Hello?
Where are you?
His voice was still deep and cold. I'm out meeting an old friend. I lied, my heart pounding like a drum.
The other end was silent for a few seconds. Then he spoke again.
Don't come back too late. Pregnant women need early rest. Mother stew is getting cold.
My face flushed again. This guy, was he just calling to tease me? And he deliberately emphasized the words pregnant woman, too.
Got it!
I snapped, then quickly hung up, as if doing so could hide my embarrassment. About half an hour later, Dr. Ethan Stone returned, his face a little pale. He placed an iPad on the table, pushing it towards me.
I only have 10 minutes. Read quickly. Pretend I never saw anything and you were never here.
I nodded, hastily opening the file. Arthur Thorne's medical records appeared before my eyes. I quickly scanned the basic information, then stopped at the diagnosis section. Patient suffered a severe car accident 3 years ago, resulting in spinal cord injury and comminuted fractures of both femurs. Initial diagnosis, permanent paralysis from the waist down. My heart felt squeezed. Car accident, permanent paralysis. So the rumors outside were true. He really had gone through such terrible things. But when I scrolled down to the section on recent treatment notes, I was completely numb. Date, 23rd of last month. Recorder, Dr. Robert, world-renowned rehabilitation specialist. Content, patient Arthur Thorne has completed his final physical therapy regimen. Motor function in both legs has recovered 100%. He can walk and move like a normal person. Current condition, fully recovered. Fully recovered. My entire body went cold. His legs were healed. He could walk like a normal person 6 months ago. So why was he still in a wheelchair? Why deceive everyone? I trembled as I scrolled down to see the detailed report of the accident that year. A small sentence made my pupils contract. Brake lines intentionally severed. Signs of attempted murder. Murder? That accident was an attempt to kill him. Now I understood. Everything made sense. He was pretending to be paralyzed to make his enemies in the shadows drop their guard. He used the wheelchair as a disguise, silently waiting for the opportune moment to turn the tables and catch the big fish behind it all. This man's mind was unfathomably deep. He had to endure all of this alone for 3 years. The solitude, the pain, and the burden of a shocking secret. Thinking of this, my heart was no longer just surprised, but filled with a complex emotion, admiration, mixed with a touch of heartache.
Time's up, Vicky.
Dr. Ethan Stone's voice interrupted my thoughts. I returned the iPad to him, my head still buzzing. Thank you, Dr. Stone. I won't forget this favor. I drove back to the Thorne mansion, only one question in my mind. Who exactly wanted to kill Arthur Thorne? As I was lost in thought, my phone rang. It was Mr. Peterson, my lawyer.
Miss Reed.
Miss Reed?
Mr. Peterson's voice sounded a little hesitant.
I just received a response from the Hayes family.
My heart skipped a beat. What did they say?
They don't agree with your conditions. Moreover, they sent you something, saying that once you see it, you'll have to obediently shut up.
Don't agree? And they dare to send me something? To threaten me? What did they send? I asked coldly. Mr. Peterson was silent for a few seconds, then said,
It's a video clip? The main characters in the video are you and Mr. Arthur in the bedroom on your wedding night.
My mind raced faster than a supercomputer. That night, apart from me helping him onto the bed and a few accidental touches, absolutely nothing happened. Where did they get a video, and how dare they use it to threaten me? Send that video to me. My voice was icy. But Miss Hayes sent it over here. I repeated, not allowing for refusal. Send it. A few minutes later, my phone received a compressed file.
I took a deep breath, my hands trembling as I clicked to open it. The video wasn't long, only about a minute, secretly filmed from a hidden corner of the room. The quality wasn't high, but it was clear enough to identify the main characters. The footage began just as I was struggling to help Arthur Thorne from his wheelchair onto the bed. Due to the tricky angle, all my actions looked as if I was deliberately falling into his arms. Next was the scene where he held my hand, and then when I angrily walked away. Most importantly, the audio. They had deliberately cut and edited, removing our dialogue, keeping only my heavy breathing as I exerted myself to move him, his thick, hoarse voice, and some rustling sounds from our contact. If this video were released with a sensational headline like "Thorne Family's Young Madam Forces Crippled Husband on Wedding Night," my reputation would be completely ruined. Dirty tactics, extremely dirty tactics. I clenched my phone, anger erupting in my chest. My stepmother and stepsister, you truly won't shed tears until you see the coffin. I drove back to the Thorne mansion like a storm. As soon as I entered the living room, I saw Arthur Thorne sitting there, as if waiting for me. My mother-in-law's stew was still steaming on the table. He looked up, his deep eyes meeting mine.
You're back?
I said nothing, walking straight to him. I didn't mention the video. Instead, I looked directly at the man in the wheelchair, enunciating each word. Arthur Thorne, stand up. Stop acting. The air in the living room seemed to freeze. Even Martha, standing nearby, was stunned. The coldness on Arthur Thorne's face cracked for the first time, replaced by undisguised astonishment. He stared at me, his eyes sharp as knives.
What did you say?
What? I said, I bent down, leaning close to his face, my voice just loud enough for the two of us to hear. Rehabilitation medical record from the 23rd, 6 months ago. Dr. Robert. Brake lines severed. Attempted murder. Did I make myself clear enough, husband? His pupils contracted. The perfect facade he had built over 3 years was torn apart by my own hands. The silence lasted for a few seconds. Then he suddenly laughed, a low chuckle that carried a hint of helplessness, a touch of appreciation, and unconcealed danger.
Victoria Reed, you always know how to surprise me.
Under Martha's horrified gaze, he placed his hands on the armrests of his wheelchair, then slowly stood up. Without any assistance, his long, straight legs stood firmly on the ground. He was a head taller than me. The overwhelming presence emanating from him made me instinctively hold my breath. He took slow steps towards me, finally stopping in front of me, lowering his head, his dark eyes locking onto mine.
Now you know my biggest secret.
His voice was hoarse and mesmerizing.
What do you plan to do, Mrs. Thorne? Or perhaps...
He reached out, gently tucking a strand of my hair behind my ear, his cool fingertip brushing my skin, making me shiver.
We should discuss that plan you agreed to, shouldn't we?
My mind went blank. This man was too dangerous. I took a breath, regaining my composure, and held out my phone to him. Before we discuss the plan, you should see this first. He glanced at the screen, and the smile on his lips immediately vanished. A cold, murderous aura emanated from him, the temperature in the room seemingly dropping several degrees.
The Hayes family!
He gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing with fury.
They dared to touch my Arthur Thorne!
He pulled out his phone, dialed a number.
Miss Chen, file for Hayes Corporation's immediate bankruptcy.
Just one sentence, as light as a feather, yet it sealed the fate of an entire family. The next morning, all of New York City was shaken. Hayes Corporation was exposed for a series of scandals: tax evasion, illegal business practices. Their stock plummeted uncontrollably, and partners collectively canceled contracts. Mr. Hayes and Eleanor Hayes were summoned by the police. As for Serafina Hayes, countless scandalous photos and videos of her wild partying were leaked. Her career and reputation completely crumbled. And I received all the shares, the house, and the assets that originally belonged to my mother. Everything ended faster than I expected. That evening, I stood in the bedroom looking out the window. Arthur Thorne emerged from the bathroom, clad only in a towel wrapped around his waist. Droplets of water ran down his firm chest, incredibly seductive. He walked over, embracing me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder.
It's all over now.
Not yet? I turned to face him. Who was the mastermind behind the accident that year? He was silent for a moment.
It was Richard Thorne.
Even though I had guessed, my heart still tightened. Why?
For the inheritance. He wanted to replace me with his illegitimate son.
So the hidden currents of the Thorne family were even more terrifying than I had imagined. So now...
He interrupted me, his eyes bright. He no longer has any opportunities.
He suddenly lifted me into his arms, striding towards the large bed. Hey, what are you doing? I cried out in alarm. He placed me on the bed, then propped himself up, trapping me between his arms. He leaned down, his hot lips brushing my ear.
Mrs. Thorne, I believe you owe me a plan. Now that the enemies have been eliminated and everything is back on track.
He paused, a wicked smile playing on his lips.
It seems this is the most opportune time to turn fiction into fact. Wouldn't you agree?
This is the end of the story. Thank you for listening to the Chapter Hearth. Please support us with a like and a subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest exciting stories.